President Prabowo Subianto held a bilateral meeting with the Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Both parties agreed to strengthen the commitment in tackling climate change. Valerina Daniel will bring you the report live from G20 Summit 2024.
Hello from Rio de Janeiro in Brazil, where the G20 summit will be taking place between November 18 to 19, 2024. Under the Brazilian presidency, the G20 summit will be attended by leaders from the biggest economy in the world, and the discussion will be mainly focused on three issues. The first one is social inclusion, the second one is governance reforms, and finally about energy transition. President of the Republic of Indonesia, Prabowo Subianto, is also attending this G20 summit. One day before the opening of the G20 summit, President Prabowo held a bilateral meeting with the Secretary General of United Nations, Antonio Guterres, where they talk about issues like the Palestinian issues and also about tackling climate change. In the climate change aspect, they mostly talk about the energy transition, where the Secretary General of United Nations, Antonio Guterres, appreciates Indonesia's commitment in supporting the efforts in tackling climate change, for example, in the energy transition. On the other hand, President Prabowo is also stating that Indonesia will continue its support towards the efforts of the United Nations in combating climate change. In the energy transition sector, Indonesia is committed to build more renewable energy sources, for example, from geothermal and bioenergy.
As you know, in the issue of global climate change, we are very committed. We are very ambitious. I plan in my new administration to go completely 100% renewable and green. And we hope that we can achieve this within 10 years, but on several issues we can go faster. For instance, we have already developed the technology to make diesel oil from plants, from palm oil, diesel.
The role of countries like Indonesia, that is emerging as an extremely important international partner, is for us vital in our efforts to bring more justice, more equity, and more capacity in the international system to support developing countries that still are the victims of an unjust, unfair and outdated system that has led many of them to be drowning in debt, many of them not to have the resources necessary to achieve the sustainable development goals, many of them not having the resources to protect their own populations against the impacts of climate change. And so there is a reform of the Security Council and the reform of international financial institutions in which we see eye to eye with Indonesia, and Indonesia has played a very important role in the Summit of the Future, and we want to go on working closely with Indonesia.
President Prabowo is also scheduled to attend all the agenda in the G20 summit, for example, the high-level meeting and also the gala dinner. Other than that, he also scheduled to meet with several leaders during the G20 summit in the form of bilateral meetings. I am Valerina Daniel and camera person Danu Dirjamukti reporting live from Rio de Janeiro, Brazil for TVRI World.